Hello, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Welcome to you. I'm a little bit late, rushing around here a little bit today, but we're all in, so let's begin. I'm really starting to love our Wisdom Wednesdays and being able to share some of the challenges as yoga practitioners that we get stuck into ruts and stuff like that, and stuck into ruts with our practice and stuck into ruts with our lives. And then how can we use yoga to make those changes? And so this is where we're coming from today. And I'm just going to check sound and things before we begin, and welcome you as you come into the group and into the live. And I can see there's a couple of you there, so welcome. And I hope sound is okay. I think it is. All of my channels are set. Oh my gosh, learning something new is always so good and stimulating, isn't it? So yep, we're in, we're live, and we are ready to go. So perfect. So welcome to this week's Wisdom Wednesday. It's good to be here with you, and today I really want to look at the scope and power of practice. I mean, have you ever felt frazzled, disconnected, spiraling energy out of control? Well, listen in, as this is the power of practice. And if we don't work with awareness, that's how practice makes us and can affect our lives and move into our lives. So these lives I'm doing on a Wednesday are really here to support your journey. We are currently embarking on the Recharge Your Yoga Practice and Elevate Your Teachings over in the Facebook group. So welcome over there. And I know some of you are already in there. And if you haven't already joined, the link's in the comments below, and hop in and come and join us. So yoga really is a practice of experience. First and foremost, it's a practice of experience. But for most of us, it's become a physical practice that we just do. We just go to yoga, get your yoga done. Possibly some of us will manage to get to yoga once a week. Some of us, we're lucky and we can get to it a few more times a week. But it tends to be a practice where we're being led, where we hand over responsibility of what we're practicing to a teacher. All well and good. But when we hand over that responsibility, we are handing over the power of practice as well. So as we give them responsibility, we're giving them responsibility for leaving us to feel warm and feel that warm glow of yoga practice. We've given that away to somebody else, that responsibility. And the power of practice is when we stop doing yoga, we stop giving away responsibility for what we should be practicing, and we start to be yoga. Because it's in the being, in the reflecting, the watching, the observing, that we get closer and get to see the power of practice and the scope, the wide scope that is really possible within a yoga class or within a yoga practice. And I love a story. If any of you come to my classes, you'll know. And if you practice with me before, I love a story. I love a yoga story, but here's another story for you. So in our Recharge Your Yoga Practice and Elevate Your Teachings, we're currently working with the 5 directional poses. We're early on, and this is the entry point for the subtle realm. So it's a place that takes us from the physical to the more subtle. But it's a place, more importantly, where we can start to learn how to observe. Because the power of these directional practices and the power of yoga really is in this observation, is in this wisdom, the power of the practices, and it starts to distill some wisdom. And that's why we're starting with the directional practices, as they're an access point. So for the last 2 weeks, I have been intensively practicing and teaching laterals and back bends. Okay. And and the reason for that is because I've been preparing the content to share with you. And as I've started to prepare the content to share with you, I've been practicing them as well. All right. So over the last 2 weeks, loads of lateral practices for me, loads of back bends practices. You know, I'm in that wisdom age of my life. I'm quite fiery in nature. And so in Ayurvedic terms, I'm quite pitta, I'm hot. And the weather is being quite warm. And I'm busy organizing the delights of sharing these practices with you. And my personal practice has slipped a little because of this, because I've been sharing these teachings with you. But last Friday, I found myself in a place where I was, my hair was going out. I was frazzled, you know, my energy was out there. It was spiraling, a bundle of spirals. I felt a little ungrounded. And I started to have a little bit of anxiety as well, which is really unusual for me, as I'm really quite a stable, dependable, capable and aware practitioner. So why was that? Why did I have a day when I was out of sorts, if you like? We all have a day where we're out of sorts. And why? And why was I like that? Because both of those practices, lateral practice and back bend practices, are both Brahmana practices. And Brahmana means that they are energy of moving forwards. They're an energy of action. They're enlivening. So as you can see, if you're already active, enlivened, moving, yeah, you need to limit the amount of laterals and back bends you do in your practice. Because back bends specifically are like the espresso poses of yoga. You know, if you drank 4 or 5 espressos in the morning, you'd blooming know, you'd be spiraling and frazzling just like me. So it's okay for me to do for a couple of days and add bits of back bends in my practices when I need that uplifting, when I need that reviving. But if I back bend all the time, I tend to live on this coffee motion, because back bends work the same as the espresso. So we must be cautious of what yoga practice we're prescribing for ourselves. We're not just doing a few movements here. We are effectively changing our prana flow. We are participating in a form of pranic healing. So if I was going to go for any healing, any medical treatment, anything like that at all, I'd want to know exactly what the outcome is going to be. But we don't get that in a yoga practice. We don't get that when we go to a yoga class. So we have to call back our own personal responsibility. You know, I know so many yoga practitioners who blooming love back bends. Me, one of them. I love them. But they dose upon them constantly. And if you're constantly dosing up on the back bends of the coffee, you know, many of them, I've seen many yoga teachers feel this sense of burnout, of exhaustion, you know, and you as practitioners as well, like fallen out of love with yoga, as we think that our yoga no longer supports our lives anymore. But no, it wouldn't be, because you have not been working with the vinyasa krama, intelligently selecting your practices. So if you fell out of love with yoga, you're not becoming more stable, kinder, more considerate, your relationships aren't flourishing, etc. I would say to you, are you practicing the right yoga? Is that yoga serving you? Because it would sound like to me that you've given the power of the practice away. You've given it away. And that's exactly what happened to me when I felt frazzled last Friday. You see, I had not observed, I hadn't listened, or creatively crafted a practice that would serve me in that moment. I had simply practiced to teach. And if you're a yoga teacher, I know that will be ringing a truth in your ear. because for yoga teachers, that is the scenario. Way too much. You don't have a personal practice and you just practice what you teach and teach what you practice. There must be two separate things here. What are you practicing and what are you teaching? They shouldn't be the same. Sometimes they're going to be the same. And when you're teaching, you're drawing from your own personal practice. But your personal practice should be just that, personal. So beware. Yoga is not all about light, positivity, unicorns, or rainbows. It's blooming dirty. It's hard. It's full of shadows and contradictions. And this is why I blooming love yoga. Because if you don't listen, it will bite you on the bum. There's no shortcut. There's no quick route. There's no buying your way into practice. The only way you get a yoga practice that's full of power, full of potential, that works for you is by listening. And so these are my 3 essential you must haves to gain insight into your yoga practice. And one is stop just practicing. And just practicing doesn't help. Yeah? Just stop just practicing. Stop giving away your power and simply being led through a class by somebody else. Drop back to the traditional teachings of yoga with a student and teacher relationship. And traditionally, you would go to your teacher, normally to his home, normally to his space, and you would take one class with him. And in that class, he would prescribe you a practice for you. He'd probably be teaching somebody else over here and prescribing them a different practice. And over here, somebody different. And they had a different practice, a different mantra, a different meditation, a different asana practice, a different pranayama practice. But that teacher would prescribe a practice that is just for you. You would then take that prescription, take it home, and start to work with it. And when you came back to your teacher the next week, they would want to know what was going on in your life. How is your digestion? What challenges have you had this week? Is the abundance flowing in your life? And then they would make an adjustment in your prescription of practice related to that. So can you see how in modern yoga we have lost some of the power of practice? So start observing, start witnessing, listening. Listen to what's going on in your life. What are your relationships like? Do you get frazzled like I did on Friday? And then when you start to find out this information and observe what you've been practicing and how your life is, then you start to be able to refine your yoga practice so that it has more positive effects on your life. This is the real power of yoga. It can be negative, as I found out. Too many back bends frazzled me up. I had spiky hair. Or you can choose to step back and work with the principles of vinyasa krama, where you intelligently craft and choose the right practice for you. For many of you, if you're just joining in and just starting to listen to some of these teachings, we're at the very beginning of this learning these principles, and they run deep, and they're not always easy to grasp. And many of you in the Recharge Your Yoga Practice group have messaged me and said that the observing and journaling and watching yourself is quite uncomfortable. Even somebody said like squirming. You feel yourself squirming as you look at yourself. Yes, this is yoga. It's not all of unicorns. No, it isn't. The power of practice runs deep. It's connected to source. It's the Shiva, the destroyer, and Shakti, the life-giving force. This is the power that you're working with. It's not just something you stretch your hamstrings. So don't underestimate the power of practice, as you will do at your peril. I've practiced yoga for many, many years, and every time it bites me in the bum if I try to push past it. It brings you back to reality, and it brings you back into the moment of now. So my 3 essentials for harnessing the power of yoga is 1, stop just practicing any old thing. Stop giving your power away to somebody else to lead you through a practice that you think that they think is the best practice for you. And start observing yourself. In the Recharge Your Yoga Practice, we have like a list of a handout where you can print out, and it's got the questions that you can do before and after practice, looking at the physical body, the mental body, the energetic body, the emotional body, so that you know where you are. Then you know where you want to go, how you want to feel, and how you want your life to be. You're the creator, and you craft a practice that serves you. Now, I understand at the moment we're just doing directional practices, and that's fine. That's where we're starting. The layers are more as we move into the settled body, and I will be sharing more of that to you because I'm completely passionate that these changes in practice and how we practice is so essential for our continued growth. So work with the 3 principles. Stop just practicing, stop giving your power away, and start observing, as this is the chance for you to harness that power of practice so that it brings greater ease, greater balance, equilibrium, and understanding into your life. And I've said already that it bites me in the bum every time I don't take notice. And I would only achieve this power and this understanding by owning my own yoga practice, committing to it, and also having some great teachers on the way to guide me. And I want this for you too. And this is why I'm here. This is why I'm sharing these unfamiliar practices and raising awareness of the power and potential that your practice holds. These are really wise teachings that we've somehow let go of their essence and made it into just simply a physical practice that we're doing. I've done my yoga, it's okay. But no, it isn't okay to just do yoga. The depth is in the being and the witnessing and the wiseness of the teachings, the wisdom. So if you haven't already, hop on over and join us in the Recharge Your Yoga Practice. The link will be below in the comments. Hop onto the Facebook group and start taking responsibility for your yoga practice. Because when you start taking responsibility for yoga practice, you're essentially taking responsibility for your life. And if there's no better time than right now to take that essential responsibility for your life, how you're living your life, or how you're participating, how you're showing up. Now is the time. The world needs us. So if you're already part of the group, please make a comment in the group and let me know where you are in your yoga practice. Does that giving the power away of your practice ring true for you? Do you just do any old practice because that's all I know? Okay, so where are you in your yoga practice? Are you giving your power away? Are you not taking responsibility? I have so much to share, but really trying to break it down into bite-sized, achievable chunks for you. So please join me again next week for Wisdom Wednesday. And if you haven't already, hop on over to the Recharge group and DM me, direct message me. I'm here, I'm human, you can see me. I'm not a bot. So message me, let me know where you are in your practice. I'm really here to serve you, and I appreciate you. So many blessings. Wednesday Wisdom is over for now, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Many blessings, everybody. Namaste. Just see if we can get out of here then, won't we? There we go. See you soon. Bye-bye.